and we'll just grab those vertices and start to realign those so that way they deform to the high poly mesh as close as possible. Okay, so I'm going to push this in and just really trying to get these vertices right there in the crevice of the eyelid. Okay. All right, so that's looking pretty good. That's going to give us plenty to work with there. Go ahead and we'll set this up. Now, one thing that we want to think about doing with the eyes, not right now, not until we've baked out our normal maps and everything, but we want to think about drooping the eyes down before the modeler or the rigging artist gets a hold of it, so that way we can create good, believable eyes whenever they blink. Whenever you model them to where they're pretty much just open, that means that the eyelid has to stretch way down to close for a blink. And so if we bring that down, after the normal map has been baked, of course, when we bring that down, that will kind of help with that process. But that's not something that we'll cover in this particular course, because we're just working on retopoing it and getting it modeled. We'll have to worry about that once we've UV'd it and everything, okay, and actually started baking normal maps. So now let's go ahead and close this in. This can be done by holding down Shift and Control, and if you grab this edge, you can actually pull an entire loop of edges. But you can see that the problem that we get here is that it doesn't really want to pull that in. So you have to kind of maneuver to the side here, hold Control and Shift, and then pull that back. And you'll see it tries to do a pretty good job, but it's not getting there. Okay, not quite. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go ahead and actually select that border. I'm going to go to my Scale tool. I'm going to hold down Shift, drag this down. That's going to create a loop. And then I'm going to grab my Move tool and just push that back into the eye. Scale it in all three directions just to make that a little smaller. And then you can reposition it, try to center it up on the eyelid a little bit more. And that should give us a good cavity there. If you want, you could go ahead and give yourself a little bit of a lid, but I think that pulling it back in there first and then scaling it down pretty small, okay, we're going to create a bunch of triangles here, and that's okay. So now with this selection, hold down Control, go to Vertex mode, and we're just going to weld those together. I'm going to use my weld settings so that way I know that all of those are getting welded, and then hit OK. Okay, grab your Move tool and pull that back so that way it's at the back of the eye. It can go through it or just kind of rest back there. The eyeball is actually going to be covering a lot of this, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and hold down Control, right click, and go to Swift Loop. Let's add a loop right here along the eye here. Now there's a problem. You'll notice the Swift Loop is not working, and that's because it doesn't cut across triangles like this. So what I'm going to do instead is, with that vertex selected right there in the center, go up to your selection rollout, hold down Control and go to Edge mode, and it's going to select all of those edges that are connected to that vertex. Then I can right click and go to Connect, and that'll connect with a single segment. Now I want to be able to move that forward, but notice as I'm moving that forward, it's changing the entire shape there, and I don't want it to do that, not as drastically anyway. So what I'm going to do instead is, with those edges selected, I'm going to constrain them to the edge, okay, the edges that they're along. And as I move this, notice that it's moving those vertices out, and it's moving those along the edges there. Now, we do have a little bit of an issue with that. Let's go ahead and hold down Control, go to Vertex mode. Let's try moving that out in the Y, and it's still not deforming properly.